Hello, this is Chuck Solomon, and welcome to the Candidate Experience Podcast, where we focus on the job candidate journey from apply to onboard and the space in between. Let's get started. You care about the candidate experience, but have you ever wondered exactly how to bring your company to that next level and offer a world-class experience to your candidates? It's not easy. Fortunately, Candidate.fyi can help. Their solution guides candidates through your hiring journey, enhancing transparency and communication at every touch point. You'll also gain valuable insights on what's working and what's not with your hiring process. Best of all, it integrates directly with your ATS. Head on over to Candidate.fyi and see how to transform your company's candidate experience today. Welcome to the Never Met a Stranger episode, where Aaron Moore, Talent Acquisition and Diversity Manager at Western Specialty Contractors, is my special guest. Listen in as he shares his insights on the Great Resignation, diversity, equity, inclusion, and tips to improve the candidate experience. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast, please subscribe and do share with others. Want to comment, discuss, or provide feedback, you can send me a note via LinkedIn or via the contact form on our site, www.thecx.xyz. I thank you in advance for listening, and here's my interview. Hey, Aaron, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
I don't know about you, Aaron, but I'm still writing 2021 on things. Is that happening to you as well?
Oh, I've already done it twice today. So I had an appointment before I came into the office, and you put the time of arrival and the date, and sure enough, I scratched out the 21, or I scratched out the 1 and put it 2. So yeah, it'll take, I don't know, I'll probably do that 8 more times before I finally get it.
You're all good. You're all good there. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. So before we get started, can you please tell listeners a little bit about yourself, your company, sort of your role with the company you work for right now?
Sure. So I work for Western Specialty Contractors. We are a nationwide construction company, really is what it is. We actually fall in the niche category of what's called specialty contracting. In a nutshell, we protect, maintain, retain the integrity and the maintenance of buildings, and we specialize in concrete and masonry restoration.
Sure.
As well as waterproofing and roofing. So we're the largest in the nation. We have 33 branches from east to west, north to south in the Midwest. So we pretty much have a presence everywhere. And I have the privilege of being the manager of talent acquisition and diversity here at the organization. So it's a pretty cool outfit, and I'm blessed to be here.
Awesome. And how long have you been with Western?
I've been with Western, it feels like about 10 years. But in all actuality, it's only been about 3 years. Time you get ingrained over here, and you look up and it's like, man, I haven't even crossed 5 years yet. But it's a good feeling though.
Right.
Because
no.
It's a big organization, but everyone knows everyone, so you feel like you've been here longer than you really have.
Gotcha. I can totally relate. I just hit my 1-year anniversary with the company I work with in November, and like time flew by, and then I looked up. I'm like, it's November, my 1-year anniversary. So now I'm like 1 year and a month and a half already past that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess to say, time flies when you're busy and having fun, and hopefully you're busy and having fun with what you do.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said for that. I know you're on LinkedIn as well. And, you see a lot of people, you hear a lot of people that, aren't happy with what they're doing. And there's
Yeah.
a great resignation that's going on. So I feel very fortunate to be in a place that I love being.
Yeah. I know, I'm not sure. There is someone that coined that term, the Great Resignation. I like to think about it as the great reevaluation. And I think,
There you go.
yeah, but I think that's good. Like, I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
good for people to reevaluate what they're doing, their career goals and objectives. Are they meeting it? Are they not meeting it? And then take some action. So I think,
Sure.
I think a lot of that, could be good. And then, there's something to be said for companies that are able to retain their folks.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do think that it is a good thing overall. And for internal companies to really actually look at what are we doing, and then talk to people, like ask, how are things going? Like that's something I think all managers need to be doing that I don't think they're doing, because if you're asking people about and getting their active feedback, it is work after all, but people should be enjoying it, I think. So, and if they, the way I look at it is, if you can't leave a 4 or 5 star rating for your employer on the employer review sites, then really you should be reevaluating things, and then going in and having a conversation about it. If people are not aware of the problem, they can't fix it. So
100%, man. Yeah.
yeah.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Glad you're agreeing with me. So, but
Yeah.
you're right. So tell me, like, what led you to working in sort of the talent and people space?
It is a long story, but I'm going to give you the condensed version of it. I've always been a people person. My mother's told me you've never met a stranger, and that's just been from birth,
Yep.
right? So I've always worked in people interacting, customer facing type jobs. Kind of like most recruiters, they said they fell into this space. They didn't
Hmm.
really go looking for it. I was working. I was, managing a retail store. Things were cool. A buddy of mine, I'd gone over to watch a sporting event with him, and he just asked me, kind of what I was doing, and he's like, "Are you good there?" And I was like, "Oh, it's cool. It's paying the bills." But you should try out recruiting. And I was like, dude, I'm not joining the military. That's not my thing. He said, no, like people recruiting. And I had never even heard of this world.
Right.
Long and the short, he said, well, how about this? If you got some time next week, come by my office, talk to me. And one thing led to another. I went, talked to him, talked to a few of his bosses, and I got plopped into recruiting. And it was something that I never knew that I wanted to do. And so it was almost by accident and just kind of trusting a friend,
Right.
He said, I think you'd be really good in this space. You have a knack for just kind of understanding people, listening to them, and you care about them. So this may be a career that you want to look into. And I guess 7, 8 years later now, I am here. And I love it.
Awesome. I have a very similar story.
Sure.
If you ask me that same question, it's very similar. It was a friend who said, "Hey, you should whatever," and I ended up talking, and then I started on a team like with no recruiting experience whatsoever, and I thank my former the two managers I had for hiring or believing in me, but also in having a really great training program. Like
Oh, yeah.
which a lot of places don't believe in, but they really believed in it. Like, you have a really solid training people. You take people with good, good attitudes, some aptitude that are coachable, trainable, and I think they did a great job of that. So I'm biased though, but I'll admit my bias. So, but yeah, I ask that very same question to, most people that I interview for this podcast, and, I get very divergent answers. Like,
Really?
I think I can count one, maybe two and I'm approaching, I think, 40 guests already that I've interviewed that have said that they actually planned on it, that it wasn't something that they discovered, but they had planned
Oh,
on it.
wow.
So, yeah. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, if you go back and listen to former episodes, it's very, I think stories and people's sort of self biography or work biography I think it's fascinating. So that's why I asked the question. So, um,
Sure.
everyone comes to this with their own stories and their unique experiences, and I think those are interesting. So, moving on, I would love to, because recruiting is and talent acquisition is part of your job, and DE&I is also, I think, part of your job as well. So I'd love to get into sort of the more of that now. Can you talk about a challenge that either your current company or former company had with sort of some aspect of the candidate experience or DE&I, and can you talk about that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, and I won't prolong, but I can kind of touch on both.
Okay.
I think, in terms of candidate experience, when I got here, um, I, I was finding out that there was really a lack of communication that was
Mm-hmm.
going on with the candidates, and let me just back up a little bit, Chuck. Like, uh, I have always been of the thought process, when I got into recruiting, and I did this even when I was working in the agency side. I was very thorough. I made sure that I communicated. I set aside. I made sure they understood the job. Made sure they understood who they were going to be working for, what the company background was. I went through all these different things, and then I would say over the last maybe 2 to 3 years, I started hearing this candidate experience phrase being thrown around. And I'm like, so I actually, I started talking to some people and I'm like, what is this? Like, oh, just, I make sure you have good communication with the candidates, give them good feedback. And I'm like, oh, that's just kind of what I've always done. I didn't
Right.
necessarily know it was called like, oh,
Right.
there's a title for it. Okay. Common decency and making sure that people are, understanding your process. So, what, what I was finding out is there was lack of communication. So, Chuck, I didn't really I didn't have to put anything together for improving the candidate experience here. I just came in and started doing what I already had done. So that was a big issue we were getting. I had seen it in some of the notes. I even found out by reaching out to a couple of candidates on some jobs, and they said, "Well, yeah, are you going to get back to me this time?" Or, what am I taking 18 assessments, or all these different things. So, I have a pre-interview call with anybody that I'm going to that I want to phone screen. That
Mm-hmm.
pre-interview call is literally to spell out from beginning to end what our process looks like. So before, Chuck, you and I even interview, I'm on the phone with you, saying, "Hey, Chuck, there's about 4 steps in our interview process. This is the first step, XYZ. This is the second step. It's going to be you and me. We're going to get a little bit more thorough into your interview process. Then I'm going to set you up to have something in person with the hiring team. And then from there, I ask you to give me no more than a week and a half to get back to you in terms of if we're going to be setting up an offer or whatever the case." So my timelines are spelled out. And the most important thing is sticking to those timelines. And if you can't, if you know you're going to miss it or be close to it, reach out to them in advance and say, "Hey, listen, I know I told you a week, Chuck. Can you give me an extra couple of days? We ran into this person, I don't know, they're sick or they got tied up with some other projects, whatever. I have never once had a candidate be absolutely, just livid because I communicated with them because maybe either we had to veer from the timeline or things have changed. So I think that well, I should say I never had anyone be livid. They may have been like, oh, well, I really kind of wanted to know there's this other job that I'm, kind of waiting out for. So, so I'm not saying it's unrealistic, but I would say it's always appreciated is what
Right.
what I can say. And so, me and my team here, we just make sure that, that communication stays up front, in terms of the DEI space, specifically in construction coming in. I'd never held a DEI title before, but construction historically, especially in the U.S., is predominantly male run. It's run by men because it's such a dinosaur of an industry, right?
Right.
It's run by typically older white males. What our board and our CEO wanted to do was, our company has been in business for about over 105 years now, and it's a privately held company. It's run by the Bishop family, and the CEO, Ben Bishop, he came to me and he said, Aaron, I want this going on 100 years after I'm gone, and I know times have changed and they're continually changing, and I want to just make sure that Western is changing with them. And I will be the first to say I'm not the foremost expert on all this stuff. So I need people, around me and that are in the know that can continue to keep Western on the cutting edge as it pertains to hiring and finding the best diverse group of individuals to make this company what it can be. So we've put an emphasis on elevating our women in the organization, not just hiring them, but putting them in positions of management, right? Actually giving them influential positions. Doing a lot more of our focusing on our people of color, trying to get them into positions of project management. Again, more prominent positions. I will tell you that I believe that our workers in the field are the whole thing, the engine that keeps this thing going. Us suits in the office here, we don't wear suits, but I call us our suits here in the office. We may get the jobs, but those individuals in the field, they're the ones that really get it done. And there's a lot of diversity in the field, but we can even do more. And it's not just with race and sex and anything like that, but it's also with age. I want to push into even in disability.
Right.
I'm looking to really expand on any and everything we can because there are groups of people that are unrepresented and underrepresented in organizations. And I feel like when you bring everyone to the table and you give them the opportunity to contribute to making your organization the best that it can be, I think that's always going to be a winning product. So that was a little long-winded, but those are some of the kind of things that we face and how we've overcome some of them and making strides to continue to be better in others.
Right. Good stuff there. I think, Aaron, you were doing candidate experience before before there was the term. So good for you. But what you really eloquently said was really, good communications, being transparent by outlining the steps in the process. And then timeliness, I think, was the other thing that you your words. I'm just parroting your words, which I think are good words there. But that does explain, good candidate experience. And after all, people that have good candidate experiences, I think, tend to have good employee experiences, which is really, really what it's at the end of the day, what it's all about. Because if people are having good employee experiences, that that results in better retention rates. It results in better, employee, people are happy and they're being retained. They're going to tell other people. So you get better referrals, and both of
Yes.
those things,
Yes.
those both tie into impacting your recruiting. So like if people
They're
are,
directly connected. Yeah.
yeah, and there is a business case for this as well. So thanks for pointing those things out. The other thing that I touched on when you mentioned it seems like you have very enlightened leadership, which is great. So
Yes.
that your leader said, I want DEI to be around 100 years after he's gone. So
Yeah.
I think that's great. And also very, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but very, I'll go back to enlightened, like your leader coming to you and saying, I don't know much about this. So he's
Yeah.
relying on you, his staff person, to sort of help push that forward. So, good for him, because, like with most organizations, if you don't have buy-in from leadership, usually things don't happen. So seems like things are happening for you guys.
Oh yeah, big time. The board was behind it, and it has to happen from the top down. So when the board began to say, hey, this is something we need to look into this, and this is where we're at in 2022, and organizations are making this a very important thing. So, like I said, the board and the CEO, they said this is this is the direction that we need to go, and I'll admit we've never had this before, so
Sure.
implementing it, we're coming in and we're doing it the best way that we know how, and everything takes time.
Yep.
We want to make sure that we are not being dismissive of anyone's of who they are or their experiences, and so we'll grow together. So yeah.
I like how you said that we'll grow together. Do you have, or does the company have, any initiatives like that are DE and I related, coming up this new year?
I think it's just going to be more diversifying our recruiting. Our recruiting pools
Mm-hmm.
is going to be really big. We want to put together an employer resource group
Mm-hmm.
as well. Again, we have there's about 1,500 people in the organization. About roughly about 300 people. 300 of those are what we consider our business portion of the organization,
Mm-hmm.
our project managers and whatnot. And so, that's where we're really just, wanting to put together that group of people that would want to be a part of something like that. And then I am working with outside organization, third parties, to help us with diversifying our pools. I don't even, I just learned maybe right before the holiday break. I was doing some recruiting up in Minneapolis, our
Mm-hmm.
location up there, and had no idea of a couple of schools that had some diverse candidates in there. So that's going to be one of my targets for doing a lot of our college recruiting, because our lifeblood does come from our college and university recruiting that come in, upon college graduation, they move into our full project manager positions at that point. So we do a lot of heavy recruiting at the college level
Sure.
as well. So yeah, we're always learning, and I think networking with those organizations that is their 100% focus, that is the purpose of their organization, that helps us using them as resources as well. So I would say those are the two biggest initiatives this year.
Great to hear. Great to hear, because talking about things is one thing, but taking action like you're doing is totally different. So glad to see that y'all are taking action that way. If you were to give, a tip to, our our listeners on sort of one simple thing that a company could do to either improve candidate experience or DEI or a combination of the two, do you have any one tip?
Yeah. If I had to only give one, only one, I would say over communicate.
Over
And it
communicate.
may, to the point to where it may even feel like, oh my goodness, am I annoying the candidate with how much I am communicating with them in terms of whether it be through follow-ups. We do everything over here. We call, we email, we text. I'm sure a lot of people do all of those avenues of communication. We ask the candidate, hey, listen, we're excited that you've chosen us to go through our interview process. What's your most preferred form of communication? What would be the easiest way to get in contact with you? Text, cool. So we talk to them by text. If we need to get them on the phone, I'll still text them first and say, hey, can you steal away for 5 minutes? So it's being accommodating and just over communicating, because at the end of the day, they'll never be able to say, well, you don't want your candidate to say, this is what I tell my team. At the end of the day, you never want your candidate to be able to say, well, I didn't know, or that was never told to me. I can promise you, if a candidate ever says that here, then they're probably not telling the truth because we almost talk too much over here. We want to make sure that they understand every step along the way, and so that would just be it. Is over communicate, make sure they have an understanding.
Yeah, no, a great tip. And you've probably never heard a candidate complain that they were over communicated.
Yeah.
Probably not a problem that you ever heard. I think excellent tip. And the point I would make about it is it doesn't cost anything. Oftentimes I hear, we can't do anything. We don't have any budget. We don't, it's that budget thing, but doesn't take any budget to go ahead and over communicate. So thanks for that tip.
Yeah. Absolutely, Chuck. I think it's, we have a luxury. I would say, I think we're like a big, small organization. We're not like a super huge, like Google or Apple or anything like that. We have a luxury to be a little bit more flexible with our candidates. It's not like a machine running through here. So we have flexibility, autonomy, and leeway to really make sure that we're kind of given a very catered, navigated experience through the process. So I would say to anyone, as best as you can in whatever organization you're in, big or small or mid-sized, try to lean as much into that catered experience, a tailored catered experience as you can, as your company would allow you to.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Aaron, I appreciate you spending time with us today. If people wanted to get a hold of you after this, how could they?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. Aaron Moore. I'm with Western Specialty Contractors. I'm typically semi-active. I was pretty active on LinkedIn. I was kind of semi-active towards the last half of the year last year, just because we were swamped. But I am picking back up, and I typically engage with anybody and everybody. So feel free to shoot me a connection. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll include a link in the session notes here, link to your profile, and I'm assuming that Western's hiring right now, right?
Oh my goodness! Yes, we definitely are.
I will also include the Western link to the Western Career page as well, so people can look at that down below in the session notes.
Which coming
Aaron,
in 22, we're getting a new career site too, so everyone look out for that. It's going to be new and improved. I'm sure people will love it.
Yeah, so that's another thing you added when I said, "What do you have planned?" That's the third thing I think you have, because career. I think career sites definitely lend to candidate experience, so that's a good thing too.
Oh yeah,
so.
It's going to be good. I would say at the top of the second quarter, we're thinking. So please come by and visit. Would love to get your feedback, but we're really pumped about it. Met with some people today too. It's going to look good.
Awesome. Aaron, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you for having me. It's been an honor.
Thanks for listening to the Candidate Experience Podcast. You can reach out to us via our website, thecx.xyz. That's thecx.xyz.